guys, this is the new Guardian raid, Hanumatan. This guide includes only essential mechanics. Please check out the detailed guide that's going to come out soon for normal pattern and stuff. As for battle items, I recommend to use Flare, Veto, Whirlwind, and Destruction until you guys get used to the fight, since the penalty of failing any mechanic is very unforgiving. But this raid is definitely doable with Flare, Veto, Destruction once you get used to it. Hanumatan has 4 phases. Every phase has at least one mechanic, maximum of 2. They can vary based on your party's DPS. Throughout the fight, you can obtain a special buff from hitting the boss. The buff stacks up to 40. You lose 5 stacks each time you get hit by the boss. The buff gives you a 1% crit chance, and you take 1.25% more damage for each stack. So having the full stack gives you 40% crit chance, but you take 50% more damage. Additionally, the buff gives you about 10% attack damage and 5% cooldown reduction at 39 stacks. This increases to about 30% attack damage and 30 cooldown reduction at 40 stacks. This is an estimated value since the tooltip doesn't say anything about it. Phase 1. Back to encounter. This is an interaction that applies throughout the fight. Hanu can jump up and drop and aggro the player. There will be a huge indicator telling where he drops. He'll follow with a huge AoE attack if you get hit by the drop, so make sure to dodge it. Once you drop his HP to a certain percent, he'll jump on the same spot and stomp in front of him. He begins a counter check into weak point check. Failing the checks will enhance the next mechanic. The weak point check is very easy and will also have a second chance even if you fail the first mechanic. The second mechanic should start in a few patterns or immediately afterwards. He roars and a stagger check begins. He will stomp in front of him 2 times, then stomp behind him. The stagger check is very quick, so you should have enough time to safely stagger the Guardian while standing behind him. You'll have to deal with the enhanced version if you fail the first mechanic or deal too much damage. In the enhanced version, he will either fuse with frost or fire elements. He stomps here and here instead of 2 fronts if he is in frost fusion, or stomps here and here instead if he is in fire fusion. You need to successfully stagger into weak point check. Failing so doesn't give you another chance. Throw a pheromone bomb when the boss becomes invulnerable. Move away to dodge the AoE attack afterwards. Phase 2. You might see 1 or 2 mechanics in the second phase depending on the party's DPS. The boss will raise his 2 hands and cast a spirit bomb. This is a stagger-based reflection pattern, similar to Carl, into a counterable attack. There will also be random puddles around Hanu, but standing in front of the boss will be safe at all times. The stagger threshold is very low for this reflection, so it is recommended to not cast any spells during this mechanic. There will be a huge energy pulse flashing under the boss if you trigger the reflection. This is a warning to run very far away to dodge the spirit bomb. The second mechanic begins shortly afterwards. He will punch the ground and begin a stagger check into a counter into a weak point check. There will be linear attacks as shown in the video during the stagger check. He'll enhance the SCD mechanic if you deal too much damage. Again, he will fuse with either frost or fire elements, and the safe spot will differ depending on the fuse element. If he's in frost, the safe spot will be here and clockwise. But make sure to not stand too close to him. And the spot will be here and rotates if he is fused with fire. Again, throw a pheromone bomb here when the boss becomes invulnerable. Phase 3. The first mechanic of third phase is just a counter into weak point check. He roars and grabs everyone in front of him and smashes them into the ground 3 times. He will then begin a counter into a weak point check. People usually dodge the grab since it does a lot of damage to the player. The second mechanic also has 3 variations. He fuses with fire or frost elements and punches 5 times instead of 3. The same counter into weak point check occurs afterwards. The 5th punch is a knockdown attack instead of the 3rd punch this time. He'll do a massive AoE attack before the transition even if you have failed any of the 3 major weak point check mechanics. You will need to run very far away or be shielded preemptively. Phase 4. Before the last phase, he'll roar and pound his chest, signaling the transition to the last phase. He'll be in high DR and do an inside safe AoE attack into spacebar spam QTE. You take percentage damage based on your max HP during the QTE, so it's advised to use Awakening or DR ability here as a support to save your teammates or for DPS players to use a health pod. His skin will turn into white and he'll do the same roar into inside save into spacebar QTE every often if you take too long. During the last phase, sometimes he will stand still and create a green circle on the ground, moving to random locations. He'll do heavy damage to people outside the circle, so you'll need to stay inside to avoid the damage. Thanks for watching. You can check the video in the description, give it a like, and go to Lost Boys stream if you have any questions. My name is Allyse and you can follow me on Twitch as well. Bye bye guys!